I think that it would keep the students focused if they wore their uniforms during virtual learning. So that is definitely something that I'm going to write that one down. I did not even think about that. Whatever the plan is for the virtual learning, that will be outlined in the parent-student handbook. Expectations, teachers will then also, will be working with the teachers. We do have training scheduled for the beginning of the school year for the teachers from the Archdiocese. We had previously scheduled, before all this happened, to have them come in and work with the teachers on some virtual components. And so that is something that we will be working on to make sure that we are organized in those efforts. With that, there would be modified attendance. So you would, if you are in school, like physically in school, you would be marked as present. If you are logging on virtually, you would be marked as present via virtual learning. So that would be, let me go back. Nope. Sometimes this computer, no. I'm trying to get back to the chat because it's not letting me go to the chat. So the modified attendance, so students would not be marked absent for being virtual. Yes, if a family decides to do virtual learning, coming back to school later is an option. Or if you find that, like, say, couple weeks in, you're like, you know what, we want to try it on a touch and go basis, that is definitely an option. During our switch to virtual learning, that different students had different levels of constant stable access. I will be looking into how we can support that better and what supports we can get. We are also looking at how we can get into the hands of especially our first and second graders, their own devices and possibly even kindergarten. Because in the event that, that students would end up, say the state says we're closed, and that would have to be a state mandate, then we would want to make sure that we would be able to continue that. With that also being said, I am currently working on making sure that if we would have to, if we would enter the yellow phase and the school would close because of being in the yellow phase and the state's mandating the entire state shut down for school, I am looking and making sure that we are in compliance with the state to keep our pre-K open. And then that way, the pre-K students, because pre-K is a lot harder to do virtually, even kindergarten. So I am currently working on that to make sure that we are in compliance with the state in order to have that. If we don't open as planned, yes, virtual learning will follow the student's schedule and roster. In the event that that would happen, knowing that numbers are starting to surge again, there will also be a presentation to the parents on how Google Classroom and Google Meet work, so that especially with the younger kids, the parents are, if a student is having problems locating something, the parents aren't also going about it blindly. So there would be tutorials for the students before that all starts, and also materials for the parents to help with that. But yes, the idea is that we would follow the student's schedule, and so that there is learning all day, class by class. So yes, that is the plan for the virtual learning. And that would be outlined once we get the parent-teacher handbook updated. That will be outlined in that for expectations. I think I touched on this. What if we have the confirmed case? If there is a confirmed case, the communication will go out to the families and staff immediately upon that confirmation. And the cohort, obviously the students that could possibly be affected in that cohort, those families would also know. And we would evaluate if any other cases related to the case were identified to make the decision on whether to extend or end the cohort. Currently, the cohort dismissal period is like 2 to 5 days. So we would work with health officials to figure out what that plan is. But confidentiality will be kept if there is. That is extremely key. And that is part of the reason why the Archdiocese feels it's important that we also don't necessarily take temperatures every day at the start of the day, because if a kid does get pulled for a temperature, then that breaks that confidentiality, and it may not be. Odds are it might be an ear infection if it's a really little kid. But we don't want that, oh, so-and-so has this or so-and-so. We want to keep that confidentiality. We want to make sure that our students are safe, but that's also confidential. So the information that is going out will keep the family confidential, but will provide the information needed for the other families. Let me see. Now, there are a couple things that I have not had a whole lot of time to look at, but things that we are planning on keeping. And this is where the question about how do you not have the crossover of cohorts. And so that comes into place with the bus. And there should be guidance coming from the busing departments, the transportation departments. I do know, and this is only because this was discussed at one of the meetings, Chester County, they use a flat out bus company. And I know that that bus company has already said that siblings will have to sit together. And those are things that if the transportation department does not put into place, those are areas where we will practice as much of cohorting as possible so that we can limit. Knowing that siblings would be together at home, yes, there is that cross-pollinating a little bit, but there would still be the sort of a cohort there, because they wouldn't be sitting with Johnny from 6th grade and they're in 3rd grade. So we will try to do that. But with that in mind, we will be looking at how before school cares works and after school cares works. There's definite guidelines with that, but we also want to try to keep the cohorting as much as possible. We are actually going to I am definitely going to encourage as much outdoor time as possible. The